Hey everybody, it's Debbie O'Neill of Scrap Me Quick Designs and the Let's Learn Cricut Explore Facebook group. And guess what? Cricut did another update today. It is in Design Space 3. It is July the 20th, and they have added a few new features for us that I know you're going to be excited to see. So let me show you what those are. First of all, I have already logged into my Cricut Design Space account and I have added 2 images to my mat, okay? So those 2 images, I've just added 2 butterflies here. And I'm going to come over here and say make it. Now this is all about giving us some ability to move and hide images on our cut mat screen. Yes, isn't that exciting? Okay, so there were 2 different butterflies on here, and because of the way Cricut sent this to the cut mat, I am now realizing that I would really like to have these butterflies cut out of the same material, okay, this background part. So I'm going to show you, you're going to be so excited. All right, so this is the first screen, but I want this second butterfly background to be on the same mat. All right, before we couldn't do that. We couldn't move them between mat to mat, right? We could only move it within a mat, but not in between to another mat. But guess what? We can do that now. So you're going to click on the image that you want to move, and up here in the left-hand top corner of that image, after you select it, you'll see a blue circle, our little turn handles that we normally see. And now this one has 3 white dots on it. So you're going to click on the 3 white dots, and now you get 2 options of a drop down. The first one is move to another mat. The second one is hide selected. So we're going to pick move to another mat. A new screen pops up. The one that is the current screen that I've said I would like to move whatever's on that mat, I want to move it. That one will change to gray, okay? And it'll say whatever mat number, and then it says current. So you know that that's what you're moving. Then you can just go ahead and pick whichever mat you want to move that image to. So I want to move this to mat 1. So I'm going to click on mat 1, and there it's going to give you a little circle with a green check so you know that it's the right thing. And then you're going to hit continue down here. And guess what? I have now moved that material, that butterfly, over to the new mat. Isn't that awesome? I'm so excited to see this. So, you know, you can move this on whatever mats that you would want to move. Now, let's look at the other feature of this. So I'm going to click one of the butterflies again, and let's say that I sent this to the print, I sent this to my Cricut and cut it out. But for whatever reason, I didn't have it stuck on my mat correctly, the material or whatever, and it kind of messed up the cut a little bit. I know that doesn't happen very often, but when it does, sometimes I just want to recut the one piece that didn't cut right, okay? I don't want to have to go in and hide everything and then be able to go back and cut that one piece again. Guess what? Now you can. So let's say this butterfly cut out fine, but this one, the other butterfly I have on here, is the one that didn't cut as well. Maybe the little antennas got messed up because I'm using a mat that had something stuck on it, and so my paper wasn't down, just as an example. Okay, so I can now go in, and this one I want to cut again, but I don't need this one to cut again. So I'm going to click on the one I don't want, and I'm going to click that little blue circle and get those 3 white dots, and then I'm going to come get the drop down, and I want to hit hide selected. When I say hide selected, that image goes away. I could hit continue and go to the cut again and just cut the one image out. Yay! I'm so excited about this feature. I hope you will be too. So that will give us a lot more flexibility when we're doing that. And also you can obviously consolidate your material and be able to get more on your mat this way. So I'm happy to show you that, but that's not it. There's more. So I'm going to cancel this, and I'm going to delete this butterfly. And the next thing I want to show you is working with Print and Cut. Yes, Cricut has fixed a couple of the challenges we were having in Design Space 3 with Print and Cut, and they've added a few new features for us. Yep, you're going to be happy about this. So here I have the butterfly, and that same butterfly image that was a cut image, and what I want to do is I want to flatten it. So I'm going to come over here to my Layers panel, and down on the bottom I'm going to hit Flatten. Okay, now instead of this being a cut file, it is now a print and cut file, all right? And I want to size this, but guess what? I am not limited to the previous size that we had before. Now I can change this to, the maximum cut is now 6.75 by 9.25. Which is quite a bit more real estate than we had before, so I'm super happy about that. And now I have, so that was 6.75 wide and 9.25 inches high, all right? And then I'm going to say make it. So 1, you get a bigger print area, yay. 2, you're going to notice that when it goes to the print screen, it now does not have the individual little registration marks on it. It has one registration rectangle around it. Okay, so that'll help the Cricut be able to read this a lot easier, and hopefully improve a few of the challenges y'all were having with getting the scanner to read everything for you. And so it'll scan faster, and it's going to be more accurate with this rectangle sensor mark that's all around. So every time you do Print and Cut, it's going to have this banding box here, which is now the new registration marks, okay? So then you're going to hit continue. And I need to pick my machine that I'm going to send this to. So let me pick my Air 2. And then you're going to notice this screen looks completely different than the way we had it before. Okay, so once you get to this, I'm just going to let that connect to my Cricut real quick, and then you want to say send to printer. So send to printer is over here. So the first step, and they've got it labeled for us, the first step is print image on a printer of your choice. So I'm going to say send to printer. And then it'll give you a printer drop-down selection. So if you have more than one printer, you'd be able to pick which printer you're going to send it to. You still have that print screen that shows you what that printed image is, and you can see now the registration, new rectangle registration mark, and you can pick how many copies of this you need it to do for you. I'm just going to leave it at 1. And then this is the bleed, okay? So it's in a little bit different place than we saw before. So what is the bleed? The bleed is when it gives a little extra shading of the background color around the image, so that when the Cricut cuts it, you get a clean edge-to-edge image instead of potentially having it slightly off and maybe a little bit of the white cardstock showing. This will give you, that's what the bleed is. So if for some reason the image that you're cutting you don't want the bleed on, all you have to do is click this and you turn it off. Okay, so that took the bleed off, and then I could turn it back on, and that puts the bleed back on. Now, if you'll notice the image, let me show you that again. So this is with the bleed on, and you'll see it's a much darker black around the outside, and then when I turn it off, you'll notice that then it's much, much thinner. So it will cut along that line, but I may end up with a little bit of white around that black, which I wouldn't really particularly want to have. So I'm going to turn my bleed back on. So that's what the bleed feature is. And then I'm going to tell it to go print. So it's going to go to my printer, and I'm doing this live so that you guys can see about how long it takes and what it's doing and so forth. And then you're going to come to the rest of the screen here, and while it's printing, let me talk about this. So it says material set to, and I have my material set to cardstock because I'm printing on 110 pound 8.5 by 11 Georgia Pacific cardstock that I got at Walmart. Okay, because that one is a good weight cardstock for Print and Cut for most things that I'm doing, and so that will just thought I'd tell you what I was using. And now it printed on my printer. I'm putting it onto my Cricut mat, and I'm going to put it in my Cricut. Okay, so it lets you know material set to cardstock is step number 2. Now step number 3 is load tools and mat. All right, so load fine print blade in clamp B. Okay, so if you're working with the Cricut Explore, Air, Cricut Explore, Cricut Explore Air, or Air 2, you have an A and a B clamp. Okay, the B clamp is the one where our blade housing is in it, okay? And our A clamp is where our accessory housing is in it. If you are on a Cricut Explore 1, you only have one housing. And so this is to help prompt people to make sure that you have the right housing in your B clamp, okay? So this is the load fine point blade is our regular housing that we have in our Cricut Explore machine that we cut with, okay? It's not anything new. It is the same thing. They have just identified it as the fine point blade, okay? So you don't have to change the blade. You want to just make sure you have your regular blade housing in there. Now, let's say that the material that we're using, I can't imagine needing to do this for cutting with the cardstock, but it says choose another blade. So if you click on that, it gives you 2 choices. So there is the deep point blade, which is the deep cut housing blade, which is a completely different housing. That's the one that's black for the Cricut Explorers. It's black housing and it has a blade that has a different angle on it, okay? But what we need is just the regular fine point blade, and then on your Cricut machine you'll get the flashing arrow just like they show in the picture here with the little finger, and you're just going to hit that, and then it will then go through and scan. Okay, we're going to and then it tells you press go, and you'll press the flashing C. So I'm going to do that. And now what's going to happen is you can see here, you'll get a message on your screen that lets you know that it's scanning, and you guys can hear this. And what it's doing is it is now scanning this box up here, then it scans it over here, and then it's going to come across and scan it over here a little bit. It's going to come back here kind of in the middle and scan. It's now scanning over to the right, and then it's going to come down and scan kind of down here on your box, depending upon your image. And then it's going to scan here. It's going to scan over here. So instead of hitting all those little separate registration marks, it's just scanning this black rectangle box. Then it's going to do its magic and go and cut it out for us. Okay. So then it switches, the message here will switch to cutting. So you know that it's cutting. So there we go. It is cutting it out. And but this is going to make this so much easier to do print than cut. I am so excited about this. When it is finished cutting, you get this 100% cut mark, and then it says unload the mat. So I'm going to click unload the mat, and even up here on the top you will get a message, and it says please unload the mat by pressing the unload button. And if you don't know how to do that, it does say show me how, and it says you can dismiss that message. So I'm going to dismiss it, and then I'm going to hit my arrow and unload my mat. Okay, and now it is finished. We have finished the project, the print and cut, and then I can just say finish over here. So that is the new print and cut thing that they've done for us. There were a couple of bug fixes that people were having some problems with. All of those have been resolved. So it's faster scanning, more accurate results, and with the rectangular sensor mark. And you will love the print and cut feature in Design Space now. Okay, so there's one more thing. Yes, there's one more thing. Can you imagine? Okay, so I'm going to take this image out of here, and I'm going to go in and I'm going to insert image again. Da, 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 da. Come on. All right, so I'm going to pick my other butterfly image, and I'm going to say insert image. And now I have added that image into Design Space. Okay, it is a cut image. So this is what I want you to do. I want you to see that I'm doing. I am going to change the dial from cardstock to custom setting. Okay, and I'm going to hit make it. Because let's say I am going to cut this out of glitter paper, for instance. Okay, so it's broken it down into the colors. I know I'm going to do 4 layers of glitter paper or whatever, and I'm going to say continue. And I do have to tell it which machine. They have not changed that. You still have to pick which machine you're using, even if you only have one. I have a couple of different Cricut machines, and then I've helped some friends with their Cricut machines, so I have 4 listed. Anyway, so now that I have it on custom settings, I changed the smart dial from cardstock to custom, and now when I go to cut, it's going to ask me, what material do I want to pick? Okay, so this is a completely different screen than what we are used to seeing. And don't be alarmed, it's not just these settings. If you click over here, it says view all. It's in green. It may be hard to see that on your computer, but you can click view all, and now you have an entire drop down list. Okay, and Cricut has sorted those by the type of material. That's something that everybody was asking. And so you can search by category. You can also just go to that category. If you click up here, it'll take you to that particular category. And then if there is, so you can go, so there's artboard. All the cardstock is now grouped together, which will be very helpful. People were having to go through and read through this big laundry list, and it was kind of cumbersome to do that as they keep adding more materials at our Cricut Explore cuts. So you can see, so fabrics all grouped together, felt, whatever. So let's say I was going to pick, I'm going to cut it out of the glitter cardstock. Notice over here that there are these little C Cricut heads on here. That means that the material setting that they have set for the machine is based on the Cricut materials, okay? But Cricut does not sell craft cardstock, for instance. So that one does not have the little C on it. So this is set for the typical craft cardstock that you buy at the craft store, okay? Now, so you have all of this. You can also do search all materials. So let's say I wanted to do vellum and I didn't know where it was on the list. I can hit this and it's going to come up and give me the vellum setting. All right. So on vellum, I'm going to click this and that's going to select that I'm going to cut this out of vellum now. I'm not doing glitter cardstock. I changed my mind. I'm going to cut it out of vellum. So I picked vellum and then I can say done, and it's going to go. Now you'll see on your screen it says custom material set to vellum. Okay, so you know what that is. Now you can hear it says default. So on the Cricut settings, they have default settings. But let's say I wanted to change that. I want to, maybe I'm using a blade that's a little bit older and so it's not quite as sharp. So I need it to give me a little bit more pressure. Then I can click more. Or let's say I have a brand new blade in my machine and it is super, super sharp, and the vellum that I'm using may be a little bit, maybe it's just a cheaper brand of vellum, and so it's thinner than a normal default piece of vellum might be, and so it's really sensitive to the pressure of the blade, and so I can change it to less. Yes, so you can now easily adjust how much pressure, either more pressure or less pressure, on that particular set custom material. And that's something that we've been asking about doing. And so we will now be able to do that. Isn't that exciting? So I'm going to hit cancel. I'm going to say yes, I'm going to cancel it. Okay, I want to show you one more thing. So here is my image again. I'm going to go back to make it. I'm going to say continue. I still have it set on custom setting. I've got to pick my machine again. It'll take a second. Okay, so now I've got my custom settings here again. Okay, so this is that drop down list, so you can either scroll through and find what you're looking for, or you can search up here like I showed you. But let's say that you would like to change one of the settings So you can come down here to material settings. So I'm going to click material settings, and it'll take just a second. But what this is going to do is it is going to give you, based on, I'm using the Cricut Explore Air 2, this is my machine, and then this is the custom settings, all right? Now, this is the default settings that Cricut has in the machine already. This is from the Smart Dial settings, okay? So when you use the Smart Dial on your Cricut Explore, there are those notch settings that go from paper, vinyl, iron-on, light cardstock, bonded fabric, and poster board. All right, so here we've got all of those settings, and it lets you know that my, let's look at cardstock. So my normal cardstock setting, I'm not light cardstock, let's say just regular cardstock. My normal cardstock setting is 299 cut pressure. And it only cuts it once, so multiple cut is not on there, and it's using the regular Cricut blade. But let's say I wanted to change that, so I would be able to hit edit, and I would be able to adjust that. So I can say that I need to adjust my pressure. Let's see, I'm going to write this down so I don't forget. So mine is normally 299 because that works great for me. But let's say you're using some type of cardstock that is a little bit thicker and you want to adjust this. Maybe that's your normal cardstock that you use. And so you can increase this. Let's say mine needed to be at 302 for it to give me the cleanest, best cut. I can do that, save the setting, and now my normal cut pressure setting is for cardstock right here is now 302. Okay, so you can go in and adjust this however you would like. You can also, all the custom materials are on here. So a lot of times the custom materials are things you may want to play with the pressure a little bit. And you can either do that where I showed you on the other screen where you can do either plus or more or less. But if you really wanted to adjust it or you wanted to change how many times it cuts, okay, so let's pick a material here. Let's do duct tape. Okay, so here's duct tape. Now, right now, duct tape is not set for multiple cut, but I'm going to say edit, and I can go in here and change it to say I want to cut the duct tape twice. Maybe I have some duct tape that has extra fiber in it or something, depending upon the brand that you picked, and you need it to cut twice, not once. I can change that to cut it twice without having to take it out of my machine and put it back in to get it to cut again. I can change it here in my material custom settings. And then I would say save. Okay, and let's see, there's the duct tape, and now it's set to 2 times. Okay, so you can go in and edit this as much as you want. I'm going to set mine back to the way it was. And I need to go change my cardstock setting to back to the way it was. So I'm going to do that. See how easy it is? It's super easy. So I'm just going to bump that back down to $2.99, and I'm going to say save. I can change it also. I can change the blade. So if I wanted a material set, so I always use the deep cut blade, and then the Cricut's going to prompt me to put my deep cut blade in, I can change it to deep cut blade as well. Okay. So I've got it saved, so now I am back to $2.99, which was my normal default setting. Anyway, so I wanted to show you that. So you have a lot of flexibility with the different types of materials that you're cutting and how you can manipulate the pressure and the multiple times that it cuts and which blade you're using and everything. You can actually change that so you don't have to keep messing with it every time. Like if you always use the same type of cardstock and you know you need to cut yours twice, go in and set it up here so that then it cuts that way for you when you pick that setting. Now you can add your own new material, and so there's all these extra Cricut materials that are not Cricut materials, that are other custom materials. Okay, there's a huge laundry list of these. I would suggest you make yourself familiar with this, because then you're going to discover there is a whole new bunch of paper or materials that you can cut that you didn't even realize you could cut with your Cricut Explore. But let's say that I had something I wanted to add. I can do add new material. and I can name that new material. So let's say I'm just going to say Debbie test material, and I'm going to say save. Okay, now it's gonna have added that to the list for me, and now I can pick what I want that to be. So let's say whatever material is that I'm cutting, I know I'm gonna need to cut that at 178 because I did some test cuts. Okay, so I know 180 will work. Let's pick that. And I know that I need to cut it twice. So I can do that, and I need to cut it I need to change it to my deep point blade, a deep cut blade, and I can say save. Okay. So let me find that on my list here. So there's Debbie's test material, and I could pick this one. Oh, I need to say done, sorry. So that was adding it to the list, okay? So then if I've added it to the list, then the next time I want to cut, it's going to come up so that it will be in that list for me. So I can even search. There's Debbie test material, and I can pick that one, and that's how it's going to cut for me. And then I can say done, and I can push my material through my Cricut Explore and cut it using my custom test setting. Anyway, so I hope you guys love all the new features in Design Space 3. Please come over and subscribe to my YouTube channel where I have lots of helpful videos for you on using Design Space 3. It's not as scary as it looks. You just need to get out there, use it, have a little practice with it. Let me know what other videos you guys want to see me make. I have a whole series of Design Space 3 videos, tutorials for you on each particular feature of Design Space 3. And thanks so much. Join us over in the Let's Learn Cricut Explore Facebook group where we have a lot of fun playing with our Cricut Explore, inspiring each other, and having lots of fun. Thank you very much. Bye. Y'all have fun.